31st appearance. But speaking of champions, here is the man who was presented a green jacket in 1992. This will be his 34th Masters appearance, Fred Couples.
Bobby, we've watched him on the 3 prior days, having conversation, talking it over. Paul Marchand, his coach right there. No conversation right now.
He's got his game face on, exactly. I remember first playing golf with Freddie when we were 18 years of age in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. Is where we met for the very first time. We later became roommates at the All-American banquet in New York and became friends. And
so many things that Freddie does well, but we all know this rhythm and tempo. You could pick it up. I mean, you can spot Freddie's swing holes away. And Bobby, it still looks as fast, though it's not. It still looks as fast and effortless as ever.
I remember a couple of years ago, Freddie and Tiger played a practice round together, and I caught up with Tiger afterward. And I said, "How's Freddie hitting it?" He says, "He's longer than I am."
Might be different now, but it is incredible how flexible. And we know that throughout his career, he's had some back issues. And, you know, this swing has, again, benefited from flexibility, but also been hurt by it.
Watch the initiation of the body. Good full shoulder turn. That elbow, his right elbow, flies a little bit at the top, but watch the initiation of the lower body, keying the downswing, and then it's almost like he's just flinging the ball. Great rotation. Look at that trail heel. I've always admired his footwork. And then into just a wonderfully balanced position at the end. It's just you could watch it all day.
Doesn't look like a 59-year-old swinging a golf club, does it?
No, 21, 22 is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. You do wonder how many more trophies he might have if he was healthy throughout his career, but it looks like he's swinging well now and comfortable. One of the few players who elects not to wear a glove during his full swing.
It's one of the really great stories about not wearing a glove. As we look at Freddie's swing, you can see in the footwork the lead foot is flared out a little bit, and then he's just going to kind of rotate. You can see the weight shifting to the trail heel and then into the lead toe, lead heel.
More and more you see how important that lead foot, the left foot, is for these players, and how they work into that heel on their downswing for their posting.
Is that something you might consider recommending for a player with less flexibility or someone who's got a little more maturity, let's say?
You talking about flaring the left foot at address? Yeah, so what flaring the left foot does, Michael, isn't it? You are able to get the hips to rotate more through the ball as the left foot is flared, so you're not working against the hip joint, you're working more with it.
Absolutely. And what I would say is that if I was working with somebody that was had a little less mobility, I would flare the lead foot, but I would also narrow the stance quite a bit, because when you flare that lead foot and that toe sort of at that 35-40 degree angle, you restrict hip turn in the backswing. You invite hip turn in the downswing and the through swing, but you restrict hip turn in the backswing. And so if you narrow up that stance, now you can kind of get the best of both worlds. And you know, you think of like a Raymond Floyd comes to mind when I start seeing a narrow stance with that foot flared that way.
Nice fluid motion. And he's made so many great swings here over the years, and of course in 1992 they were all very special. But let's take a look back to last year, and a fluid motion from the bunker at 12 from Fred Couples.
This was such a hard shot too. Very little green to work with, opening the blade, barely gets it out of the bunker. Made it look easy.
Boy, does that take touch.
He went early call, and by the way, how good is the 12th? How good has hole number 12 been to Freddie Couples through the years?
Yeah. That's for sure. But to make that shot, he almost needed to decelerate through the ball. It was amazing feel and touch, and a nice 2 last year for Fred Couples.
I remember watching Freddie play a bunker shot from the right green side bunker on hole number 16. to that back right hole location. And when he came down into the shot, and you know, Bobby, how delicate that shot is and how soft, he took his right hand off of the club.
He does that sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, it was fabulous to watch. And to no surprise, hit it up there to 1.5 feet.
He holds onto the club so loosely. I remember talking to Johnny Miller years ago, and it was one of Johnny's keys. He said he would hold on to the club as if he were holding a baby bird. And when you look at Fred Couples and his hands, the way they're so soft on the club, aren't they?
Well, how about just his demeanor? I mean, you look at his demeanor, and it's just, he's not in a rush. I think he plays to his personality. I think that's one of the most important parts of being a great player and a great champion, is playing to your personality.
No question about it. He's not wearing himself out on the practice facility either.
You know, I think of a modern day Dustin Johnson, who does not move quickly. He moves at his own pace, and that was a great point, Michael. You got to play to your personality. Don't rush it. Don't be something you're not. As we take a look at the most cuts made here at the Masters.
That's amazing. 30.
Fred Couples looking to get number 31 and become second only to Jack Nicklaus, who has 37 cuts made here at the Masters.
That's a record that'll never be broken.
Boy, what a beautiful swing to watch.
So the story that I was told about Freddie Couples and his not wearing a glove was that he had been wearing a glove. He was a young, you know, sort of teenage golfer, and went into a restaurant, put his hands up on the counter, and the woman behind the counter said, why is one hand tan and the other hand not? And he said, well, I'm a golfer. And she goes, well, why is that? And he said, well, you wear a glove on one hand and you don't on the other. And she goes, well, that looks kind of ridiculous. And he went, okay. And then he stopped wearing his glove.
Wow. I expected something else.
And by the way, is that typical of Freddie?
Yeah. That is typical of Freddie. I've never heard that story.
And the rest is history.
Well, growing up in Seattle, it was never very hot there. So, you know, one of the advantages of wearing a glove is if it gets hot, a glove will actually take up some of that perspiration and help you with your grip in hot, humid conditions.
Well, it is amazing at age 59, the amount of shoulder turn and the amount of flexibility he does have.
Well, and particularly for a guy who's had a bad back.
That's right. See his coach, Paul Marchand, there speaking with David Ledbetter.
That likely means that Patrick Reed is out on the practice facility.
That's right. David Ledbetter now doing some work with Patrick, and we can take a look at the shape of this shot on the right side of your screen. Fun to get some numbers. Numbers are a big part of instruction these days, guys.
Look at that 90-foot apex, 146 miles an hour ball speed.
Freddie yawning. Like, okay, I'll hit another one. Pure. Look at these, one after another, just laying them on top of each other.
Very similar too. I mean, you know, 80-foot, 84-foot apex. One prior was 91.
Beautiful swing here.
So Fred getting a little energy there. You know, I was talking to Al Geiberger. He's here this week, and Alan was famous for putting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in his golf bag for energy. And it was kind of groundbreaking in some senses, because it was almost taboo years on the tour to eat during your round of golf.
Yeah.
You didn't want to change anything. You were afraid to. And now you see all these players with energy drinks and energy bars, eating during the round. There's so much more science in the nutrition.